Hi, this is Sapin Bharti, and we are here at the SpringOne platform conference in DC. And today we have with us Thomas from West Corp. So can you tell us a bit about yourself and your company? What do you do?
My name is Thomas Squeo. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for West Corporation. I've previously ran transformation and architecture for the last 2+ years. And we are on a multi-year transformation journey. West Corporation is a multinational firm. We focus on primarily communications, customer experience, and conferencing collaboration. We also have a significant component of our business which is around the safety market, specifically all the services around 911. And we also do everything from webcasting, content management, investor relations, press releases, and all those kind of things. So pretty broad portfolio of applications as well.
You mentioned that you are on your transformation journey yourself. Can you talk about that?
West started as a holding company, so where you had segments of like businesses that were kind of organized under a segment president. And so in late 2017, we reorganized ourselves to focus in on how we could optimize as an operating company. So, integrating the assets, being able to consolidate where we can, look at things like span of control, portfolio consolidation, be able to harden the platform so we actually build the organization as a platform that would enable kind of the businesses that we operate in.
So as you go through your transformation journey and you deal with technological challenges as well as people challenges, so how did you address this problem?
Well, I think that from our view, it's kind of a 4-part way in which you actually deal with transformation. First is you kind of have to approach it as a technology company. Technology first, process second, competency kind of as an outgrowth of that, and then across all that is how you're going to see the culture evolve across that organization. And I think it's important. I think that when you think of a technology organization, they can either have more of an operator view or they can have more of a product engineering and product development view. We're definitely moving towards, aggressively moving towards the product-centric, but much more customer-centric view, how our products are consumed, how they're implemented, anything from self-service to white glove managed service.
And when you talk about the technological challenge, are you going for organic growth, building technologies internally, or you also, sometimes go out and acquire,
Both. Without a doubt. I mean, I think that when we look at our technology portfolio, we have a very active product development lifecycle of existing teams doing product development around the products and services that we deliver. But we also are a very acquisitive company as well. So one of the things that's important to us is that whatever technology assets or product assets that we're bringing into the portfolio, not only do we have to make sure that they're well-maintained, well-managed, extensible, and ultimately going to complement our portfolio from our business goals, but what is the health of those teams, whether they were kind of on a steady state before we got involved with them, or we had an opportunity to be able to improve that. We basically look at some of the things that we've made decisions around from a platform strategy is being able to do some of the table setting necessary for our organizations. Sometimes we come into an organization that might not have had the capital to invest in certain areas. But at the end of the day, what we wanted to be able to do is go and say, look, we are going to bring Pivotal Cloud Foundry to the table. You have your choices of PAS or PKS, or in the future, we'll bring in function services as well. But also I'll also bring in application performance monitoring and event streaming. We bring in all the tools around our DevOps and CI/CD pipelines. Bring in security tools that organizations might not have been able to take advantage of. We have deep relationships with all the major IaaS providers. So in doing that, what we bring is a scale that they might not have been able to operate at before, and then it brings ultimately an ability to kind of supply modern development tools and practices to teams that might not have been able to take advantage of them before. But also, typically when you're working with a smaller organization that's more nimble and agile than ours, we're able to bring some of the practices that they've implemented internally and be able to apply those to our larger portfolio.
What does it really mean to be a nimble and agile organization?
Well, I think that you could be nimble and agile at any scale, but I think that when we see smaller organizations, sub 50 people, where they have very much focused on a single product segment, they might be doing or taking advantage of technologies that we're not incorporating in our legacy portfolios, whether that be things like serverless or approaches to how they actually do testing or how they deal with security or any of those kind of things, we are able to bring those practices into our organization. So when I think about Nimble or Agile organizations, you could be Agile at any scale, but ultimately when you're unencumbered by some of the regulatory and governance requirements that our industries are, we tend to move. We're a much larger ship, and we move a little bit slower when we turn, but we are able to take advantage of these smaller assets when they come into the portfolio, and really give them the autonomy to operate. But the scale at which we operate, we have now ability to do, bring a lot more to the table.
The particular industry that you operate in, what are the challenges in, because you did mention that they move slow, but what are the other challenges? Because if you look at the technological landscape, technologies are popping up on monthly basis. Serverless comes up, and then suddenly something else will come up. So what are the challenges that you see when you deal with these customers, and how do you help them?
Well, I think that when we view our customers, our customers really don't care how we're actually building the technology, but they care about the end result, the quality, service, the expectation of feature completeness and things like that. What's important from a technology standpoint, at least in our view, is that from an architecture standpoint, we set guardrails for the teams as opposed to necessarily governance standards in which we would actually slow those teams down. So that's really important, is being able to provide a baseline set of tools that gives our teams the ability to take advantage and move across the environments they want, moving at web speed, and ultimately at the end of the day, also giving them the autonomy to be able to make technology decisions locally about what they want to be able to incorporate in their product, whether that be open source tools or new technologies, new vendors that have arrived on the landscape for what they're actually looking to do. But ultimately, giving them that autonomy, we have to be able to make sure that it's not going to break something back inside the larger enterprise.
How much of your own technology is open source, or how important is open source for your company?
Well, I'd say that if you can think about the LAMP and Java stacks, about 60% of our portfolio is actually built over those. I think that what we see is we're seeing open source in the .NET space as well, so we're able to kind of take advantage of that across the entire ecosystem. We're starting to see new technologies coming in, and we encourage our teams to be able to experiment with those things, because ultimately what happens is that I care less about the licensing model of the technology or the solution than I do about the competitive advantage it brings or the risk it introduces to the organization.
You did say that you don't care much about licensing, but in open source, where license does play a big role, because you can be in violation of the new GPL or whatever it is. So do you have any process internally when you do use open source product, because you're also mixing with some proprietary code
without a
to
doubt,
ensure that you are in compliance with those licenses?
Yeah, without a doubt. So we actually have incorporated license management into our automated security testing. We also have actual license controls in our build and deploy pipelines. So it's actually all the way upstream from our source code and versioning systems, as well as also how it flows through the organization. We have to be able to report on that.
Do you also contribute to open source projects, or you're more or less a consumer?
I would say that we are more a consumer than we are actually an active contributor. We might have contribution inside the organization, but we aren't really, inhibiting or actively kind of going out to endorse it as an item. I do know that we have a few teams that have contributed back to open source projects, and we think that's great. We are not going to stop them from doing that. I think it's an area that we want to be able to have whether it be open source projects or just kind of larger community out there. See that West is actually participating, so not just consuming from, but also participating back.
You said that your developers are also contributing to the open source project, and the way we look at open source, that you are benefiting from the work of people you actually don't pay, right? That's how open source works. Yeah. But you also have your own workforces. So how do you try to kind of attract those bright people to come and work for you?
Well, I think that one of the things that we look at with West is we want to be a destination employer. I think that what that means is that we need to be able to have tools and techniques that are modern. People are excited to work on them. Being able to incorporate those into their day-to-day work. We want them to be able to ultimately see that, what makes them attractive to West, whether they're a person on our team today or somebody that we want to join our team, is the thing that we're going to invest in. They're going to get to grow in our organization, and I think that's important.
So we talked about technology, we talked about your company, we talked about Pivotal. Let's talk about you for a second. So when you are not dealing with tech, what do you do in your free time?
So primarily, I'm focused on more obstacle course races and things like that. So that's actually where I spend most of my time. So if I'm not working, I'm usually running around on a side of a mountain.
So what was your last, visit? Where were you running?
Well, I did a Spartan race over the summer, but earlier this week I did a run in Kansas City.
So but that also means it needs a lot of practice, right? You have to. So when you travel for these events, how do you keep up with that?
Bring your shoes.
So you're running on the airports and doing the sessions?
Well, no. So I mean, if you get up early, you get out, you go for a run, then you start your day. So the earlier the day, the earlier you get up.
Anything else? Any other hobby you have besides running?
Hanging out with my girlfriend and my dog.
Perfect. Thanks, Thomas, for hanging out with us today, and hopefully we'll see you again in the next conference. Thank you.
Thank you.